Hello, everyone. Happy Christmas. It's Christmas Eve. That's exciting. It's Rail Natter. It's a very short Rail Natter because it's a Christmas pre-record and I'm disorganised and people get sick. But that does mean that should be some fun lined up in the new year. In any case, not much to say really. I was going to put in the update of the COVID ridership stats, but there's been a bug in the data since like the start of October, so I haven't been able to update that, which is quite annoying. Anyway. A big thank you to all you lovely Patreon people, particularly the £5 and above tier folk. It's a delight to have you along. You are what enables this show to happen. So thank you so much. Anyway, without further ado, welcome to tonight's very brief little Rail Natter. And as the Intercity 225 fades away, we start looking at this. Something that is decidedly not supposed to happen, which is two trains facing each other on the same track. No. What happened here? Not clear, but apparently the drivers were aware of this and were braking because, as any of you will know anything about trains, know that trains don't brake in visible braking distance. So the decision to apply the brakes has happened from both drivers well in advance of the point that we can see here. So they clearly realised something was going wrong with the signalling system, but we don't know anything about this yet. I look forward to more being said. This is in Slovakia. Not good. So yeah, more clarity on this would be nice because this is the opposite of what signalling is supposed to do. But there's some fun stuff going on in Europe as well, which we have to talk about, which is Spain launching €60 monthly nationwide public transport pass. Basically everything but long distance stuff. So no, you can't travel high speed on this. You can't travel long distance, but medium distance, local, commuter trains and buses and other transport stuff is going to be under this monthly ticket in Spain, which is brilliant, really, really good and useful for holiday stuff as well. And it's this is being framed as a government responding to controversy and corruption allegations and sexual harassment allegations. All that notwithstanding, veracity or otherwise of it to one side, it is possible to do good stuff in response to political pressure. Like you don't have to go bad. You don't have to do bad things under political pressure. Indeed, say you don't have political pressure. Say you have an enormous, like massive majority. You can actually do good things. It's possible. Talking of idiots, here's D-Smog pointing out that there is, not that much money to be honest. £640,000 from oil giants and Murdoch. Groundbreaking investigation reveals how the IEA, Institute of Economic Affairs, yes, our faves, campaigned against climate action after taking cash from fossil fuel firms. Well, this is table stakes. We knew this. Like, nobody didn't know this. So I don't know what... D-Smog doing some great work to pick this up, but it's not news, and I suspect there's a lot more money in play because £640,000 isn't that much, to be honest. What is quite fun is... Reem Ibrahim, who's one of the IEA vampires, just being daft, and it's quite fun to just completely own. In fact, it's an easy thing to do. You can just pick an IEA staff member and just own them online. It's very straightforward. So that's a nice little kind of pastime, isn't it? What else? Oh yeah, so the driver who tried to murder a bunch of people in Liverpool, using his car explicitly as a weapon. Well, here's Joel C. I can't put about in this. This might be the ultimate expression of car-brain motor normative society, using a car explicitly as a weapon, harming dozens of people in the process and our justice system. Heck, civic society in general can't bear to consider permanently removing his ability to drive. Yeah, and as Dan Douglas, who's well worth a follow, says, there are no limits to what you can do, no limits to what you can do with a car and still be allowed to drive again one day. Doyle banned from driving for 3 years, extended to 16 years and 10 months to take into account the period he will spend in custody. He will be required to pass an extended retest before being allowed to drive again. No, just don't ever let him drive again. Take that weapon away from him. Absolutely do, Lally. Car brain disease needs curing. And the idea that we have a God-given right to be given to sit behind the wheel needs to be fixed. Right, here we go. London Secretary of State, London Rail Minister, London Investment. Well, Is that the story? It's good that DLR extension happening. Bakerloo line extension should be happening. London should be having more projects happening. The thing is, everywhere else is owed in excess of £5,000 per person outside of London, and that also needs to be happening. And, well, Coventry are extending its VLR trial, but they can't run any services on it. They're just building the tracks to have vehicles drive over. Why not? Devolution should be that devolved authorities can just do this stuff without asking permission at all. So Coventry are cracking on with this. I've shared my skepticism of this, but if it works, fine. There's lots of like game-changing statement. They keep saying things like game-changing about it, like talking about the fact it doesn't have ugly OLE above it. It's like, yeah, but the overheads is what make it cheap and light and effective and efficient. Lots of other discussion. The discussion of autonomy. It's like, well, it doesn't need. You don't need that. Like, it doesn't need to behave like that. Just build a tram. The tram is fine. The expensive thing is not the novel technology. The expensive thing is doing the infrastructure work. So anyway, but let's keep following this. Keep a close eye on this, as we always shall do. 8-month delay on cracking on with the study into connecting Tweedbank and Carlisle, following the old Waverley route. Borders completion. I mean, we've got to cover this in previous episodes. Just do it then. If it's a thing that should be done, do it. If you need to be asking permission to do it, we'll get to business cases momentarily, then you don't want to do it. Just say that. Don't waste millions and millions of pounds, in this case the best part of 10 million quid of taxpayers' money, on finding a justification to say no. Just say you're not going to do it. Have the moral backbone to say no, that you're not going to do it, and then therefore potentially offer the opportunity for you to be voted out for someone who does want to do it to come in. This horrible technocratic, but the report said we can do it, not me, not my personal opinion, not my political opinion. Now, West Yorkshire Mass Transit. So there's a statement, an update on the 18th of December. Some people might have noticed I had a thing or two to say about it. Tom Forth also did. Quite a few others did. It got picked up by the Yorkshire Post and others. Lots of stuff behind the scenes on this one. But the key, you can have to read through the statement, but the key part of the statement was notes to editors, lots of little bits and pieces here, commitments of the 200 million, which dates back from the IRP. We'll get to that in a second. Key thing, though, is that the start of services on phase 1 will now be in the late 2030s. Originally, it was going to be the early 2030s. So that's quite a substantial delay. I strongly believe that this is a de facto cancellation, but others have different opinions. Tracy Brabin strongly suggests otherwise, and we'll hear from her in a minute. But one of the things I wanted to cover is this little quote here from a really nice. There's a report that's a summary of the year that's been done by a friend of the show, Professor Ian Doherty. And it pulls out this point, benefit cost monster. I'm just going to read this little quote because I think it's interesting. Throughout the 25 years that we've been involved in researching, interrogating and trying to make sense of the way we do transport planning in Britain, one issue above all has reared its ugly head: how we do transport economic appraisal and the implications of this for investment decisions. To be blunt, and as we wrote in our book The Transport Debate, Britain's continued obsession with arcane econometric analysis in transport planning exemplifies the age-old problem of being precisely wrong rather than roughly right. Enables and legitimizes poor strategic decision-making and in too many cases condemns genuinely valuable projects to failure when confronted by organised political opposition. Really nice little paragraph there that summarises lots of the problems. Being precisely wrong rather than roughly right. And that is what business case analysis for transport is all about. Getting a nice, precisely incorrect number rather than being broad and correct. It's a real mess. Anyone remember the IRP? I think I might have mentioned it on the show once or twice back in 2021. It did a few things. One of the things it did was cancel HS2 up to Leeds. And in its place, ostensibly, suggested that some absolutely trivial percentage of that might instead be spent on a mass transit system for Leeds and West Yorkshire, so Leeds trams. And there's the 200 million figure, by the way, that's still the same number being quoted now, despite some levels of inflation having happened since then. But anyway, so it's quite reasonable for people to be sceptical, given that they see what delay to projects looks like. It ends up with cancellation. It ends up with the betrayal by politicians and indeed civil servants and indeed Quango chairs. of varying letters combined and assembled together, who I maybe holding hostage behind me, making decrees based on nothing and based on what they've been kind of nudged to say anyway, or indeed what they think is the right thing to say to the politicians deciding on what their career looks like in the future. And it's right that people up here are angry and cynical and jaded because they've seen it all before. I was 2 when the latest iteration of plans for Leeds tram or let's put it this way, when the modern iteration of Leeds tram was proposed, I was 2 years old. This announcement comes with my little one being 2 years old. So we're talking about generational delays in this project. And I think people in the north are quite reasonably angry about it, and cynical. Tracy Braben might have something else to say, though.
I did say there could potentially be bumps in the road, as there are in these big infrastructure projects, but rest assured, our commitment for the people of West Yorkshire is to get a mass transit system up and running by the end of the 2030s.
So that's Tracy Braben, that's what she thinks. And I really hope she's right. She has the potential for some political leverage here. There are opportunities for some wins here. She can apply pressure because of Rachel Reeves being a local MP here. She can apply pressure given the promises that have been made about Northern investment and what this looks like if it's cancelled. She has several pathways to applying pressure. I mean, if it was me, I'd have defected to the Greens instantly, or threatened to do so. Look, it'd be great to get Tracy on and to have a chat and see what her perception of this all is. There's a lot of really good stuff and aspiration happening within WICA. I'm extremely keen to see the bus network rolling out. It's happening too slowly for my liking, but that's not anyone who you can see on screen's fault necessarily. They'll get there, but there is a lot that could and should be happening. Essentially, what the situation we're in, let me just briefly go big face, actually. The challenge, what's actually happened, what materially happened, is that central government has undertook a kind of an assessment earlier in the year, an independent study, whatever that means, which looked at how the project was progressing, Leeds Trams, West Yorkshire Mass Transit was progressing, and decided that the process that West Yorkshire Combined Authority had been undertaking the early design and the business case development in parallel. So those two things happening in parallel to speed up project delivery. DFT has gone, you can't do that, and then said, so make sure that you put the design after the business case development, which is two things. Oh, also the development of the project potentially is going to get pulled down to be a central government project rather than a WICA project. This breaks all the stuff that the devolution agenda should be achieving, and it also is so frustrating because there is no need to develop a business case. You don't need it. Either you want to deliver this or you don't. The latest thing, of course, is that the business case might then say, well, buses are better. It's like, no, they have buses now and they don't work, and buses do not compare to trams. I ended up having a long chat on the old Twitter sphere with Gareth Corfield from the Telegraph, the transport correspondent, who suggested that buses would be fine. And I pointed out, no, buses have potentially a quarter of the capacity of a tram system. As soon as you match a tram system's level of capacity with buses, you wreck the roads. And then had a whole conversation about Docklands light railway, which, as all of you know, is not a light railway. And also, there's no such thing as a light railway in the first place. Docklands DLR is a metro system. And also discussion about, well, Docklands is all this density. Is like, not when they first built the DLR, it wasn't. It was barren wasteland. So yeah, maybe actually Leeds does deserve more than just buses. And it does. It's short and straightforward answer to that. That's not all. There's some other things to talk about because things are happening in the north on Trans-Pennine route upgrade, and I want to end on a high note really, which is it's been nice to see how much progress. Okay, all sorts of discussion about delays to the project and how long it's taken to get wires fully over the hill, but it's really nice to see progress on TRU. A project I've worked on huge numbers of bits of. It's really great to see that progress. Also nice to see an enormous double arrow on this lift shaft here, although double arrow looks a little bit too bold, but anyway, that's query that later. Anyway, this is Murfield, I believe. There's lots of stuff happening. There's huge amounts going on. I'll go through what's happening all over the place, but momentarily I'll say kind of some of the stuff that's happening, but the scale of work that's currently happening around Ravensthorpe, and you can see the bridges, the new bridges going on in the background. This picture I think is from months ago, so it looks even more advanced than this now. I think they've possibly finished one of the spans at this point. Just huge amounts of physical work going on. It's spectacular. And this isn't to mention the fact they're regrading, they're completely reprofiling the curve in the other direction, so smoothing out the curve and creating a primary route rather than the bodge of secondary routes. It's great. It's huge amounts going on, and it's exciting. And do spot it. Church Fenton, there's quite a lot going on. The new bridge is up, the overbridge and the level crossing closed. There is a lot of stuff going on. And so really, I wanted to kind of close out the main part of the episode by saying, if you are out there working, or if you know people out there working, best of luck and have good fortune and hopefully reasonably good weather. Having done on call for multiple Christmases and been out on late ones in and about the Christmas season. Never actually worked over Christmas. I've been lucky enough not to have to do that. Well, I suppose being on call is kind of working. I wasn't allowed to drink, but it's in my comfortable house is not quite the same as actually being out there and doing stuff over the Christmas period. Shout out to everyone out there doing it. There's loads going on. So there is, I wanted to end on a cheery one for 2025. There's a huge amount of work going on. Network Rail in particular doing a huge amount. Look, I'll go through this list of some of the stuff that's going on, but there's a lot more than this. Hanslope Junction, massive amount of work going on the West Coast Main Line. There's replacement of the railway bridge over the M6 up kind of north of the end of the West Coast Main Line as well. There's new signalling going in at Kingmore on the West Coast Main Line, North Carlisle. TRU stuff, Church Fenton, signalling track stuff, the remodelling and lines, line speed up improvement through that area, kind of reprofiling the fast lines, if you like, through there. Signed off on those, done some checking of those drawings, so it's going to be good to see that getting implemented. Shout out to my old team. Signalling systems around Cambridge North, so the kind of up to Stansted Airport. The London-Liverpool Street Station roof continues to have work. Track renewals around Queenstown Road in London, so that kind of sealing off Waterloo. And new railway bridge at Bowling in West Dunbartonshire. So huge amounts of work. That's just a tip of the iceberg. As ever, there's huge amounts of work going on. I was mentioning a piece. Pitched me up against Jake Kelly, which the two of us did not. Everything Jake said, I agree with. It's a bit of a slightly frustrating wording in the article, but if you want to find out more about Christmas works and why it is like that, then there's a fairly succinct article on the BBC News page that you can just search Christmas works BBC, and you'll find the fairly recent thing done by Katie, who's the transport correspondent. She's good. It's frustrating to be pitched as if I was disagreeing with Jake Kelly when I was not. But anyway, that's fine. Merry Christmas, everyone. It's been a year, hasn't it? But to everyone out there particularly, best of luck with everything. The last little bit thing I wanted to say is we've done it. The PWI has been renamed. We will be the Railway Engineering Institution. This is not the final logo. This is me doing a mock-up, but I thought I'd put it up because I think it kind of works, keeping the old PWI bit, but then saying Railway Engineering Institution. But anyway, there we are. We will be the Railway Engineering Institution, and I'm very, very happy about that. Look, good things can happen. It's exciting. That's right. Next week, New Year's Eve, I will be talking about structural failure and structural collapse, what that looks like, and what we can do about it. It should be a fun one. Thanks to an actually collapsing bridge that I wandered around near. So for your viewing pleasure, you can go and enjoy that. And of course, for the bonus people, you might not be getting a bonus tonight. I can't remember whether I will be or will not be able to do that. My suspicion is probably not. We'll see. But episode 289. Sneak peek will happen the week after. You get to have a little sneak peek. I'll release it an hour before, rather than after, an hour before the episode. I think that's what I'll end up doing. So I'll do that on Patreon. I'll just do the post. That will go out, which should be fun. I hope you enjoy. It's a little. Yeah, hope and decay. Of course, some of the things happening. Just gone out now as I'm recording this is an episode of. Somehow you didn't die on your way to work. The episode, sorry, I was just looking at the episode number. It's episode 12. We're talking about the Wootton Bassett Spad. So you can go and have a listen to that. That's good fun. We talk about many things, have a laugh, and I get way too overexcited about using my drops. So there's that. And also TF just went out, which is a really good one. I would recommend listening to the TF that I just did, which is a bonus, and the Patrick Wyman episode that is in advance of it, because the two make a very interesting pairing. Other than that, you all have a tremendous and lovely rest of your year. Drink extremely vigorously where you're able to, and I will see you live start of January. But before that, there is, of course, New Year's Eve episode. So enjoy the New Year's Eve episode. I'm going to wibble my Christmas hat at you. Forget what mirroring looks like. And without further ado, everyone, night. He's finished. It's done. Cheerio.